This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 48, How to Maintain Not Quite Daily Habits by Steve Pavlina of stevepavlina.com.
Get ready to maximize your potential with Optimal Living Daily, the podcast that brings you the best in personal development and productivity every day of the week. Your optimal life awaits. Now here's your host, Justin Malik.
Hey, how's it going, Optimizers? Welcome to another episode of Optimal Living Daily, or the old podcast, as I sometimes refer to it as. I'm Justin Malik, and we're going to be talking about habits today, specifically those not quite daily habits that we try to keep up with. I'm going to jump right into this episode, but I quickly want to mention that, once again, there are no ads here, and the only way I can keep it that way is continued support from you. So if you want to show your support, there are two things you can do. The first takes 10 seconds, and that is to subscribe to this podcast so that you get the latest episodes. And the second is to visit my site at oldpodcast.com and join the free weekly newsletter. It's a nice and short email every week that comes with some actionable tips, but also free gifts. All you have to do is enter your email address over at oldpodcast.com. Now let's get on with the show and start optimizing your life. How to Maintain Not Quite Daily Habits by Steve Pavlina of stevepavlina.com. Have you ever fallen off track while trying to install or maintain a not quite daily habit, such as exercising 3 to 4 days a week or getting up at 5 a.m. on weekdays? This article will share some simple ideas to help you maintain such habits more easily. If you perform a certain task every day for weeks on end, it's usually pretty easy to maintain. However, once you take a day or two off, it can be harder to start up again on your next on day. For example, if you get up early every weekday and then sleep in late on Saturday and Sunday, waking up Monday morning often feels harder and you're more likely to oversleep. Before you know it, you've blown your positive habit completely and somehow every day has become an off day. Number 1, make it daily anyway. The first solution is to turn almost daily habits into daily habits. Sometimes it's no big deal to continue the habit even when it isn't necessary. And the upside is that you'll have a stronger habit with less risk of losing ground. For example, I like to get up early 7 days a week. I find this much easier to maintain than getting up early 5 to 6 days per week. If I get up at 5 a.m. every single morning, it's really no big deal. But if I stay out late one night and sleep in until 7 a.m., it's always harder to get up at 5 a.m. the following morning. Every once in a while, I'll stay out past midnight and sleep in late, but my default is to get up with the alarm at the same time every morning. Even though I don't need to get up early every day, the habit is beneficial for me every day, so there's no reason to limit it to weekdays. Although it might seem harder to do it 7 days instead of 5 to 6 days, it's actually easier to be consistent. With close to 100% daily consistency, a habit will typically maintain itself on autopilot, so you don't even have to think about it anymore. But with 80 to 90% consistency, the contrast between your on and off days is always in the back of your mind. Do I have to get up early tomorrow, or can I sleep in late? Do I need to exercise tomorrow, or can I skip it? If you have a lot of almost daily habits, this can be a big cognitive burden and quite a distraction. Maintaining good habits becomes much more difficult than necessary. Number 2, use placeholder habits. Another option is to create an alternative placeholder habit for your off days. Suppose you want to exercise 5 days a week, and you really want to keep those off days. Instead of doing your regular exercise, you could schedule an alternative activity for the same time. Instead of doing your usual workout, you could use your off days to go for a walk, read, meditate, write in your journal, etc. I recommend that you use placeholder habits that are similar in some way to the original habit. For example, on your off days for exercise, you could still do something physical like walking, stretching, or yoga. This turns your physical development to an everyday practice, even though you're doing different activities each day. Number 3, chain habits. When you chain a series of habits together, they become easier to maintain. As soon as you begin the first habit in the chain, the rest of the sequence will tend to take care of itself. My usual morning routine involves getting up, hitting the gym, showering, getting dressed, eating breakfast, etc. It's a pretty stable pattern. But sometimes when I feel I'm at risk of overtraining, I'll skip my workout without substituting anything. When this happens, I can just jump to the next link in my morning habit chain, which means I'll get up and then shower. I find that when I occasionally skip habits that are part of a longer daily chain, it's fairly easy to put them back in again as long as I continue to maintain the first and last links in the chain. As long as I get up early and go to the gym or get up early and then shower, my not quite daily exercise habit remains pretty solid. But if I mess with the first link in the chain and don't get up at my usual time, the whole sequence is more likely to be blown. So the idea is to put your not quite daily habits in the middle of a chain of daily habits. If you maintain the overall chain, you'll probably find it easier to maintain the middle links as well, even though you sometimes skip them. Number 4, make specific commitments. If there are certain habits you won't perform every day, decide exactly when you will perform them. I'm going to exercise 3 to 4 days per week is too vague and wishy-washy. I'll do a 30-minute workout at the gym every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday morning at 6:30 a.m., alternating between weight training and aerobic conditioning is much better. The more specific your commitment, the better. Block out time on your schedule and add these commitments to your calendar. Be sure not to schedule anything else for those times. It's very easy to fail when you give yourself too many outs and don't really commit. On any given day, there should be no question as to whether you will or won't perform your habitual activity. Ditch the mights, maybes, and shoulds. Either you will or you won't. Decide in advance what it will be. Number 5, turn habits into appointments. If you have a hard time maintaining irregular habits, find a way to turn them into appointments that involve someone else. It's easier to ditch a habit if you're only accountable to yourself, but most people are less willing to skip appointments that will leave someone else hanging. Get a workout buddy. Schedule early AM phone calls with another early riser. Plan home organizing time with your roommates at the same time every week. Schedule regular babysitting for date nights with your spouse. Your accountability will be greater when you involve others in your not quite daily habits. These are just some of the tactics you can use to improve your ability to maintain irregular habits. For a list of specific habits that will give you some ideas, see the article, 10 Ways to Optimize Your Normal Days. You just listened to the post titled How to Maintain Not Quite Daily Habits by Steve Pavlina of stevepavlina.com. I love that first point. Make it daily anyway. That's actually one of the reasons why this is a daily show. That way it's easier to fit it into your daily routine, and then you'll be more likely to continue optimizing your life. And that's the whole purpose of this. If you can dedicate just 10 minutes or so every day right in the morning, or maybe go for a 10-minute walk and listen to this at the same time, or even before bed, whenever, then you'll get the full value out of this podcast and you'll be well on your way to optimizing your life. You know, I started this because of my own issues, and by doing this daily for 48 episodes, it's already had a big impact on me in a positive way. So I truly believe that if you make it part of your routine, you'll benefit in the same ways and start having a happier and more optimized life. And if you're new to this podcast, the first step to making this part of your routine is to simply hit the subscribe button to get new episodes. And you can go a little further and show your support by visiting me online at oldpodcast.com and joining the free weekly newsletter where I give away free stuff and also share some additional tips and other fun stuff. Last, if you want to go above and beyond and really help keep this podcast alive, you can become a patron of the show there as well. So once again, that's over at oldpodcast.com. And that's it for episode 48. Let's start that habit of yours, and I'll see you in tomorrow's show where your optimal life awaits.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com. That's oldpodcast.com for a free gift, as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.